What happens when a UFO fanatic and a ghost believer team up? Chaos, comedy, and a lot of supernatural craziness. In this video, we're diving into the wild start of Dandadan, breaking down episodes 1 to 3 and uncovering all the insane moments you can't miss. Let's get started. Episode 1 of Dandadan begins with our female protagonist Momo confronting her boyfriend. Momo's boyfriend wants her to put out more, but Momo refuses him the pleasure. Momo fights her boyfriend, resulting in the two breaking up. Momo discusses this development with her friends afterward. She says she only dated the guy because he looked like Ken Takakura, a celebrity in her world. She leaves class and goes for a walk in the hallway. Momo spots several bullies picking on her classmate Okarun. Before the bullies pick on Okarun more, Momo intervenes. Momo grabs Okarun's book and starts flipping through the pages. She finds Okarun's book uninteresting and leaves class. Okarun confronts her in the hallway. He wonders if Momo's in love with the occult. Momo tells Okarun she doesn't believe in aliens or UFOs. Momo yells at Okarun and belittles him. Before Momo departs, she comforts Okarun because she argues she acted too harshly. Okarun tells Momo ghosts don't exist, and Momo retracts her kind remarks. Momo tells Okarun her grandmother is a spirit medium. Okarun doesn't care, and the two continue arguing. Momo and Okarun place a bet. If the other can prove their favorite belief exists, the opposing party must be their gopher. Later, Momo visits Nagi General Hospital. Okarun calls Momo on the phone. He shares details concerning the hospital's UFO lore and what aliens do to people they capture. Meanwhile, Okarun visits a tunnel known for housing spooky spirits. Momo warns Okarun about things he shouldn't do during his investigation. Moreover, Momo reveals she hasn't seen a ghost before. This angers Okarun. Momo tells Okarun that she values her grandmother a lot. Then, Momo shares details about her childhood. Momo says she had to perform a good luck ritual while walking to school. She says numerous boys teased her about her actions. Momo argues she didn't like that the boy she was in love with teased her about it. She tells Okarun that this ruined her love for her grandmother. At the same time, Momo says she doesn't love people making fun of her family. This made her view the boy's teasing differently. Momo interpreted the scenario as the boy making fun of her grandmother. This strengthened Momo's love for her grandmother and the things she did for Momo. Momo tells Okarun this is why she believes in ghosts. Momo asks Okarun why he believes in aliens, but Okarun doesn't give Momo a response. After further discussion, Okarun spots an old lady in the tunnel. The old woman tells Okarun she'll let him perform erotic acts on her body if she can do the same with him. Okarun flees from the elderly woman and calls Momo. Momo tells Okarun to stop running. She reveals the elderly woman is named Turbo Granny. Momo tells Okarun he'll be cursed if Turbo Granny defeats him in a race. Then, Momo loses contact with Okarun. The remaining lights in the hospital shut off, and Momo notices a trio of men behind her. The men grab Momo, remove her clothes, and strap her to a chair. One of the men tells Momo that they're Serpoians, or Serpos, who come from the planet Serpo. Momo doesn't care and wants the Serpos to free her. The Serpos tell Momo their planet only consists of males and they must use clown technology to reproduce. The Serpos tell Momo that to attain proper reproduction capabilities, he and his friends want humans bananas. The Serpos tell Momo they want to have intercourse with her. After that, they want to extract specific organs from her body for research purposes. Momo doesn't want the Serpos to steal her innocence and tries fighting back. The Serpos use their psychokinesis powers to arouse Momo. Before the Serpos perform their erotic act on Momo, Momo's phone rings. One of the Serpos investigates, and Okarun pops out of the phone. He attacks the Serpo and hurls him toward the wall. Okarun tells Momo that Turbo Granny cursed him. The Serpos aren't thrilled about Okarun's intrusion. They demand Okarun to hand over his banana. Okarun defeats another Serpo, and the remaining Serpo demands Okarun to hand over his banana. Okarun tells the last Serpo he'll do it. Okarun confirms he wanted to see aliens because he argued they'd be the only ones to befriend him. Okarun was upset that aliens never visited him during his youth. He tells Serpo that Momo is the only one who is kind to him. Okarun tells Serpo not to harm Momo. The Serpo harms Okarun and says their kind only wants to mingle with female humans. While Serpo uses his powers on Momo, we enter a flashback. In it, Momo's grandmother tells Momo how to let her chi out. Then, we return to the present. Momo's dormant psychic powers awaken. The Serpo confirms his powers are ineffective against Momo's abilities. Momo kicks the Serpo and sends it flying into the wall. She learns she and Okarun were inside the Serpo's UFO the entire time. Okarun lands on Momo, and Momo learns Turbo Granny's controlling him. Momo uses her powers to free Okarun from Turbo Granny's control for a while. Turbo Granny tells Momo she possesses Okarun's banana. She says Momo and Okarun must visit her tunnel if they want the banana back. The UFO crashes through the hospital and lands on a highway. Momo and Okarun escape. They both believe in the other's superstitions now. Momo tells Okarun that she must use her powers to prevent Okarun from losing control. She tells Okarun what they need to do to get his curse removed. Okarun wants to visit the tunnel alone and take responsibility for his actions. Momo insists they stick together, and Okarun hands Momo some clothes. He also recites a Takakura line, much to Momo's surprise. Momo asks Okarun to tell her his name, and Okarun says his name is Takakura. The episode ends with Momo looking surprised as the UFO behind her explodes. Episode 2 of Dandadan begins with Okarun telling Momo that Takakura is his name. Momo refuses to accept that. Turbo Granny's curse takes over Okarun. Momo flings Okarun to a wall and sets some rules. She doesn't want Okarun to say his real name. Instead, Momo insists Okarun go by Okarun for the time being. Momo teases Okarun about his new name. They bicker and eventually reach Momo's home. Okarun realizes there's a large torii gate in front of Momo's home. Momo enters first and Okarun attempts to follow her. Okarun catches on fire, so Momo uses her psychic powers to toss him into a nearby pond. Momo realizes her grandmother put a barrier on the gate and apologizes to Okarun. She removes the talisman from the gate. Okarun gets up and passes through the gate. Momo and Okarun enter Momo's home. She tells Okarun to wait outside her door. Momo gets dressed and asks Okarun to show her his banana. She reminds Okarun that he's cursed because Turbo Granny stole his banana. Okarun checks and realizes Turbo Granny stole his banana. Momo wants to check for herself, but Okarun denies her the opportunity. Okarun and Momo bicker over their previous challenge. Momo says she only picked a fight with Okarun because he kept talking to her. Okarun says he didn't want to miss the chance to speak with her and make a friend. He understands he and Momo live in different worlds. Okarun feels Momo shouldn't chat with a guy like him. Okarun apologizes and tells Momo she can ignore him once this is all over. Momo confronts Okarun. She doesn't like how Okarun jumps to conclusions. Momo argues that Okarun doesn't have friends because he shoves them away. Momo heads toward Okarun and says they can discuss the occult like normal. Okarun calls Momo ugly, and the two get into an argument. Momo and Okarun hear the doorbell ring. Momo says she has 2 doorbells. One is for people while the other is for spirits. Momo realizes the evil spirit may have got in because she removed the gate's talisman. The two head outside and notice the spirit isn't around. Then, a wall forms around Momo's home. Momo and Okarun head to the gate. Suddenly, Momo and Okarun's noses bleed. Momo spots a large sumo-like spirit. The spirit rambles about broken promises and attempts to harm our protagonists. Momo and Okarun attempt to flee, but the sumo slams them against a wall. Momo and Okarun shake it off and confront the sumo. The sumo wants Okarun's banana. Momo and Okarun head to a different area. Okarun tells Momo that they're dealing with the Flatwoods monster, a specific alien. Although Momo doubts that considering her doorbell's reaction, Okarun speculates aliens and ghosts may have something in common. Okarun and Momo head to a shed. He wants to fight the Flatwoods monster. Okarun tells Momo to release Turbo Granny's physical curse and to help him keep his head in check. Momo and Okarun confront the Flatwoods monster. Before the monster attacks them, Okarun transforms, grabs Momo, and dodges the monster's assault. Okarun's new form puts him in a depressed state. However, Okarun's incredibly fast. Unfortunately, Okarun doesn't have full control of his powers yet. Before the monster harms him, Momo uses her powers to save Okarun. She examines the monster's stance and realizes he's fighting like a sumo. Momo wants to team up with Okarun and defeat the monster by sumo wrestling it. Momo and Okarun's plan goes well, but the monster sprouts more limbs. The monster grabs Momo and throws her against the wall near the gate. Momo uses her strength to prevent Okarun from losing to Turbo Granny's curse. Momo yells at the monster for cheating. The monster pummels Momo into the wall more. Okarun is concerned for Momo's health. Momo says it's okay because she's outside the gate's domain. She uses her powers to grab Okarun and puts the talisman back on the gate. The monster disappears along with the wall it set up. Momo and Okarun celebrate their victory. Suddenly, Momo faints, and Turbo Granny's curse takes over Okarun. The episode ends with a cursed Okarun towering over Momo's body. Episode 3 of Dandadan begins with Momo's grandmother Seiko asking a boy several questions. Then, Seiko takes a taxi home. Eventually, Seiko notices Okarun towering over Momo. Okarun is under Turbo Granny's control because of the curse she placed on him in a previous episode. Before Okarun harms Momo, Seiko attacks him. Seiko challenges Okarun to a fight and uses a supernatural barrier and her bat to defeat him. Eventually, Momo wakes up in her room. She heads to her living room. She spots Seiko watching Bakatono on television. Seiko and Momo discuss Momo's spiritual hotspot adventure with Okarun. Momo is concerned for Okarun's safety. Seiko refuses to elaborate on Okarun's condition and still holds a small grudge against Momo. Momo bows her head and apologizes to Seiko. Seiko tells Momo to visit the main shrine. Momo rushes to the main shrine and learns Okarun's okay. Seiko tells Momo Okarun will be fine if he stays inside the main shrine. Momo updates Seiko on Okarun's situation. She tells Seiko she can use her psychic powers too. Seiko informs Momo about Turbo Granny's origins. She shares details about location-bound spirits and how they're known for being the strongest within their territories. Seiko speculates Turbo Granny fused with her tunnel's location-bound spirit. She argues Momo should abandon Okarun and not get involved with Turbo Granny. Momo refuses. Seiko suggests Momo play tag with Turbo Granny since Turbo Granny is confident in her speed. However, Seiko says Momo must lead Turbo Granny away from their city without getting caught. Seiko explains how her barriers work and says it won't be enough to truly defeat Turbo Granny. Seiko opens the main shrine and says Momo must rely on Okarun's speed in his Turbo Granny form. Okarun argues he's not capable enough. Seiko lists activities Okarun can tackle to get stronger. As for Momo, Seiko says she'll help her train. Seiko departs. Okarun apologizes to Momo for not protecting her during their fight with the Flatwoods monster. Momo understands. She tells Okarun to get some rest. Some time passes. Momo's holding off Turbo Granny's curse on Okarun. Okarun is struggling to train because he needs to use the bathroom. During Okarun's struggle, Momo explains how she's keeping Turbo Granny's curse at bay. Seiko tells Momo to close her eyes and use her senses. She argues it may make matters easier for her. Okarun interrupts their discussion and says he needs to use the bathroom badly. Eventually, Okarun uses the bathroom. Momo tries her best not to watch Okarun relieve himself. Seiko and Momo discuss Momo's powers more. She speculates Momo's powers were sealed off. Okarun interrupts. Before Momo responds, Turbo Granny appears in the bathroom. Seiko is unconscious, and Turbo Granny tells Momo she can curse anyone to death as long as Okarun sees them. Turbo Granny tells Momo to head to the tunnel to challenge her. Otherwise, Turbo Granny will curse everyone around there to death. Turbo Granny departs. Okarun and Seiko snap out of their daze. Seiko holds a small ceremony later. She gives Okarun and Momo strange clothes to protect them from evil spirits. Before Momo and Okarun depart, Seiko tells Momo not to die. Momo promises to come back alive. She and Okarun hop on a train. Momo explains why they're taking the train to the tunnel. Momo vows to beat Turbo Granny senselessly for harming Seiko. The episode ends with Momo changing clothes, because she wants to look her best before they confront Turbo Granny. That's it for the first 3 episodes of Dandadan. Things are just getting started, and the craziness is only going to ramp up from here. If you enjoyed this breakdown, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell to stay updated for the next episodes. See you in the next video.